Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady. Today I'd like to take you on an early February Foodscape tour. And I thought that I would start right here with my massive Edgeworthia chrysanthemum just to get an update on how far along it's come in the past week. And frankly, it hasn't really come along at all. I've got a few flower buds just starting to open. This does give me hope for the weeks to come. So what else is happening in my foodscape in Zone 7, Central North Carolina, the first week of February? Well, I'm really excited to show you this Salex Mount Aso. I actually won this in an auction at an event, a Master Gardener event in Princeton, New Jersey, and I had driven. It was 2 years ago, like right now, and I got to bring it home because I wasn't flying, which was so great. And I've just been so excited to see it develop. It's really grown a lot. This was actually, I think, a 3-gallon plant, and it's, it's just grown super well, and you can see it's just covered in buds. So I'm gonna do some pruning on this and bring those in and force them in arrangements. Now the rest of this bed hasn't really changed. The garlic keeps growing. That's the thing, garlic. I like this look. I like that it's organized. It's right along the edge. It looks purposeful. And then, I kind of have the chaos of the poppies that I sowed behind it, and they are definitely continuing to develop. I know when I was showing you this is a seedling, you could barely even see how small they were, and now they've got good rosettes. I've been getting a ton of questions about whether you should thin them. And you can, but I don't. I let plants fight it out. The survival of the fittest is a real thing, and it doesn't all have to be in my control. And the reason I don't thin it, in part, is because I'm more of a hands-off gardener. I'll admit that. But also, I really like the density that it creates when you allow them to be sown, really tightly. So if you remember, I did a video on kind of removing some diseased rosemary, and the piece that I left looks pretty terrible. So I'll probably rip that out, and then I can add some more ornamental grasses. I mean, what the heck? I can grow rosemary anywhere. I think I'll probably grow it in pots on my back porch. That way I don't have to put shoes on to be able to get it when I want to cook with it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know I do plant profiles almost daily. And yesterday I featured this camellia. This is Crimson Candles. It's a hybrid. And it looks so cool even when it's not flowering, because you can enjoy these really cool flower buds. So I really use Instagram as a tool for helping educate people about plants, and good plants and plants that cause problems. And I did a post last week on the invasive quality of ligustrum. That's the Chinese privet. And I just wanted to show you how this is Ligustrum sinensis or sinensi, how it's invaded my woodland. And it's really caused a lot of trouble, and it's displacing the native understory plants that would naturally grow here, things like dogwoods and Ilex opaca, and just plants that would provide better habitat. And it's disappointing and discouraging when you have this kind of infestation, because it's really challenging to overcome. So don't plant any more privets, y'all. You don't need them. There are better plants to put into your landscape than ligustrum. Well, this is a treat. It's my first hellebore flowers that are actually open. I take hellebores for granted, and this year I'm not taking them for granted because they haven't been blooming yet. So I'm very excited to see this. This is just like Hellebores hybridus, and it's not particularly special. It's just a white single with some purple freckles, but I think they're pretty. And I like to use these in floating arrangements because I find hellebores to be really seedy. And so to prevent them from self-sowing and becoming invasive, I just literally pluck the flowers off just like that and then I will go put this in one of my water vessels and enjoy it as a floating flower arrangement. And speaking of floating flower arrangements, I made these a few days ago, and they just bring me so much happiness. And you know, the garden doesn't have a lot going on, just from like a stand in one place and look around and see. But when you gather all of this stuff and display it together, it seems like there are so many things flowering. And I think that's what I love most about the creativity of just using some plastic pots with no holes, filling them up with water, and using them as vessels to be creative all winter long. I posted an update the other day on these broccoli trays, but I swear these ones that have been stored inside just keep getting worse and worse. I am just not meant to be an indoor seed germinator. I don't like to work that hard. I will sow some seeds and keep them outside in the sunshine and let the rain do the work for me. I guess that is what I have learned from this experiment, is that I don't like to micromanage plants. You know, and to be honest, I just don't like micromanaging anything. So I think that's partly why my gardening advice has always been like really popular with audiences, because I generally try and give people the advice to do whatever it is the easiest way, so that it doesn't feel like an imposition and it feels like fun, and you know, you get a lot for a tiny amount of effort. And I think that might actually be my general life philosophy, but it's been exaggerated as a result of the pandemic, where I don't go anywhere. I'm just at home talking to people through Zoom. And I find myself giving people even like lazier, lower impact advice than I even used to give when I was traveling full time for work. So maybe I should change my handle to like Bree the Lazy Gardener. I don't know. So you might remember from my last tour that this bed was really weedy and the pool was dirty, and I said in the video that I was going to clean it, and this is me showing you that I actually did that. That these tours are really useful for me because it's an opportunity to walk around the garden and be critical of it and set some goals and get some things accomplished. And so I just wanted to share with you that I did get this bed clean, and that's my motivation now for going around the rest of the garden and you know, getting some of these winter weeds dealt with early so that I won't have as many infestations in the long run. So I also have a bunch of plants that need to get planted, and I've been trying to figure out where I'm going to put them, but you know, we had this cryptomeria that got struck by lightning and we cut it down, and I was going to do a video to show you how, again, to be like not work very hard, how to mound soil over that and then plant without tearing out the root system, because that's what I'm gonna do. Now my real job for today is I have to take on the space. I've been talking about this in videos for a long time, but look, when you don't weed when everything's small, guess what? They don't stop growing. The weeds just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it's imperative that I get this space cleaned up. There's no excuse. Other than that, it's been cold and raining every single day. And today's the day, because doggone it, it's gonna rain the whole rest of the week. And they're just gonna grow even more. So I have to get this dealt with. Now I am happy to show you that the Prunus Mume are finally starting to come into flower. And this is a variety called Bridal Veil. You can see it's a weeping cultivar. And I have to constantly prune it because, you know, we walk under it and it wants to grow down to the ground. So my recommendation is to plant it where you don't walk under it, so then you don't have to manage it so much. And then Bonita over here has been blasted by the cold, but it's still doing its thing. And I see some bees. Not as many as normal, but you know, it, like I said, it's been cold and rainy. But I mean, it's just so pretty, and it smells really, really nice. The Prunus mumes, the darker ones have more of a cinnamon fragrance, and the lighter ones are a little more floral. But it's just delightful to stand underneath and you can smell it, and I just love bringing these branches inside. I have them right now in my dining room, and the whole house smells great because of them. And Sophia's favorite bed, the foundation bed, continues to grow along. The big barley clumps are doing well, and you can see bachelor buttons germinating, looking great. And then a massive patch of poppies and larkspur. Here again, I'll show you up close and personal the difference between the two. This is larkspur, this is larkspur, that is larkspur, and all of this is poppy. This is bachelor button or centuria. This border is going to look super cool this spring when all these money plants start to flower. You know, they have fuchsia flowers followed by those kind of clear rounded seed pods. These are biennial, so I've been growing these for a number of years to get them to this size. Well, out here on the outside fence, it's still a mess, and I'm not seeing like good plants germinate. So I see a lot of green, but that's all chickweed. So I have a lot of weeding to do out here. I am glad that the self-sown poppies are growing really well. So the thing that I did in this bed that I probably shouldn't have done, I used a pre-mixed packet of peas and oats, and then we scattered them across a massive square footage. And I'll tell you, like, the grains don't show up when it's a single sprout of oats. Like, you need a clump of oats in order to make an impact. So lesson learned, I won't do that again. I know better, but I don't know. It's the sort of packet that you could buy at a garden center versus doing what I do and, you know, buying large quantities of things online. Just trying to use something that everybody would have access to. But you know what? It's not that practical, and it needs to be said. And so I'm saying it. And I won't make that mistake again. Just wish I hadn't made it to begin with, because I really like when this border looks good, and I don't know that it's going to look that good this year. Well, lesson learned. So I was just about to blame the deer for eating the barley, but you know what? I think it's Sophia. I think she's the one that's been mowing the barley down. You see that? How it's just chomped down? She's left some so she can graze more. Sophia? I do have a really fun animals webinar coming up on the 28th of February. You can find it on my website, breegrows.com, or you can go to the J.C. Ralston Arboretum's website, go to their classes and courses section. But it's a 2-hour webinar all about dealing with animals, like literally everything from cats, which I deal with, to, you know, groundhogs and voles and deer and rabbits. And I'd love for you to join me in that. It's a lot of great information, a lot of information about what not to do, because frankly, I think that's probably what I'm better at sharing. But I would love to have you join that, because it's just a really fun couple of hours to spend kind of commiserating about what animals do to our home gardens. So I've had a couple of pumpkins that I kept outside probably too long, and they went bad inside where I've been storing them in my spare bedroom. Nobody wants to be a guest here. And anyhow, they were melting. I found them, and I just tossed them out here, and I think an animal actually broke this open. and generally they'll just self-sow. Now, I don't think this is actually the best decision that I've ever made, but I've gone ahead and done it, and you see there's actually like 2 more that I've tossed out here. So I'll probably have more pumpkins than I'll know what to do with this year in this south-facing border. Last year I had grown them on the other side. They grew all the way across the entire fence line. So I do believe very strongly in crop rotation, and I'm not going to plant any pumpkins over on that side in 2021 because I don't want to run the risk of potentially like somehow getting nematodes activated and starting to invade the pumpkins. I'm just going to try and move the pumpkins year after year in different places. That way I don't, you know, develop insect and disease pressure. Well, I've got all of these plants stashed away in my greenhouse, and today is the day that I'm going to try and get them planted in the ground, so stay tuned for some planting videos coming up. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm wishing you the best. Happy gardening.